The EU is on life support. It is collapsing in real time. We just got our clearest sign yet that there is no coming back from this. If you live in Europe, you've got to be furious at what your globalist leaders are doing to you right before your eyes. It's tragic. It's actually infuriating. And over the past 48 hours, we've gotten some absolutely stunning news that shows the European project is falling apart even faster than anyone thought. So I want to break it all down. But first, we need to start with Elon Musk, because what happened this weekend was a seismic moment, putting it bluntly. Elon Musk calling for an end to the European Union. And I am too, by the way, just to be clear. And honestly, there are only two rational ways to interpret this. Number one, he's not wrong. The EU makes life more expensive, more restricted, less free for ordinary people. Only the truly naive still believe that Brussels, this faceless machine of unelected technocrats, somehow improves the lives of working Europeans. It does not. And Europeans, if they're honest, already know this. Number two, the last time Elon Musk made rational points about government, it ended pretty badly. Well-intended political crusades usually do. But here's the context. Elon didn't wake up one day and decide to go after Brussels. The EU came after him first. They slapped a $140 million fine on X under their bullshit Digital Services Act, an authoritarian monstrosity that was passed 2 years ago, which gave EU bureaucrats like unprecedented control over online communication, basically sidestepping what each European country had to say for itself. It didn't matter. Brussels was in control. The claim is that X failed to comply with this Digital Services Act. But come on, this has nothing to do with safety or implementation. This is about censorship, plain and simple. And the EU doesn't even try to hide it. Back in 2023, Brussels hired a so-called disinformation monitoring startup called Trust Lab, which, by the way, has documented ties to the CIA. And it produced a report claiming that Twitter was overflowing with Russian disinformation. And here's the best part. The report did not identify one single account linked to Russia. Not one. The conclusion was predetermined, of course. It didn't matter what the outcome of the report was. The evidence didn't matter. The purpose was to smear X and justify censorship. Now, you combine that with the fact that, according to Elon Musk, X is now the #1 source of news in most EU countries. That absolutely tracks. European mainstream media makes American media look like Pulitzer Prize level by comparison. I mean, have you seen the BBC? Oh my God. So what does the EU do when they lose control of the narrative? Well, they punish the platform, of course. J.D. Vance and others in Washington, right to their faces, called it exactly what it is: punishment for not engaging in the censorship that Brussels demands. Europe didn't like when J.D. Vance went and made that talk. This is political. This is ideological. The message from the EU is crystal clear. Adopt our censorship model or we will financially destroy you. And Elon, to his credit, didn't cave. He called for the end of the European Union altogether. And frankly, he's just saying what millions of Europeans are whispering under their breath. When you have refugees like this guy, Mohammed, that's his name, this guy this weekend walking down the streets of Belgium threatening to kill people with a machete, J.D. Vance is right. Your society is collapsing. Because here's the truth. The EU should and likely will come to an end. But it won't be because of Elon. It will be because Europeans eventually reach their breaking point and refuse to surrender more authority to Brussels. And that raises the real question, of course. How can Europeans freely decide anything when Brussels has all 27 member states in a political chokehold? Portugal can't do anything on its own. There are only two ways out. Number one, you invoke Article 50 and you exit the EU, one nation at a time, the Brexit path, or the Soviet Union sort of Rome path, which is a massive financial or political collapse at the center of it. We go back into the Dark Ages. The Visigoths are at the gates. And based on the courage level of today's European political class, yeah, option 2 seems a lot more realistic. It's just going to die a slow, agonizing collapse. We talked with academic researcher Ralph Scholhammer on the show yesterday. He lives in Austria, and he went on a scorched earth on these globalists. Listen.
Finally, people are openly saying, man, I think we did a lot of things wrong over the last 20 years, because you couldn't say this, as Natalie correctly pointed out, because you were immediately framed as a Nazi and a fascist, and you had, as in Germany, right, the police would knock at your door at 8 a.m. and they wouldn't arrest you, so that's the thing, but they would confiscate your cell phone for 10 days or for 2 months, and they would confiscate your laptop, right, and the banks would debank you, as it happened to Martin Sellner and others. So I'm glad that finally some light is being shined on what's going on.
But of course, Elon was just the opening act of all of this, because the big story, the massive story, is what the Trump administration just put into writing last week that no one talked about. It was not whispered, not implied. It was written directly into the new national security strategy. Trump's NSS states plainly that Europe faces civilizational erasure within 20 years. Trump put it in writing. This is unprecedented, folks. This is the U.S. government officially acknowledging that Europe as a civilization is dying, culturally, demographically, economically, and may not survive the next 2 decades in any kind of recognizable fashion. It's the harshest assessment any U.S. president has ever made about Europe. And the mainstream media pretended like it didn't even happen. I didn't hear about it at all because they know the truth. If Europe collapses, their entire globalist liberal architecture collapses with it. Their entire liberal plan fails. And then, as if to prove Trump right, Viktor Orban came out and said the EU is drowning in corruption. His words, not mine. He accused Brussels of funneling billions of dollars through NGOs and lobbyists and unaccountable bureaucrats who answer to nobody. Brussels is not a democratic institution. It's a corrupt cartel with a flag. Then we got another bombshell. Reuters reporting this weekend that the U.S. has given NATO's European members a self-defense deadline, a countdown clock. Like Washington is telling Europe, hey, build your real militaries now because America is not carrying you anymore. If you want to continue this boondoggle in Ukraine against Russia, that's on you. We're done. Europe can't meet this deadline. They can't even meet their own energy needs. Germany can't keep the lights on without importing coal. France is dealing with weekly riots. Spain is crumbling politically right now. Belgium has been in a midlife crisis for about 12 years now, with knife-wielding Muslims walking the streets. And just to round out the dystopia here, Berlin passed a new law allowing police to install spyware inside of private homes. Not on your phone, not on your router, in your home. Your trusted government officials can now break in, install surveillance tools, and leave without you ever knowing. It's not liberal democracy. This is East Germany with better branding.
This is all Berlin's doing. Like this is, and I have no patience for what's going on in Brussels, but the very example, which is an important one that you just mentioned, this is coming from Berlin. It was, I think, on 60 Minutes. People can Google it and they find it. They were doing interviews with the German prosecutors for hate speech and hate crimes and all these things. And they talked to 2 or 3 of those prosecutors, and they openly said, very often people don't get punished because, these paragraphs about hate speech are very tricky, but they get blackmailed. They got, as I said, they get their phones confiscated. So the state is punishing them. The process becomes the punishment. So they drag you through court. It costs you money. You get socially ostracized and all these things.
When you put all these stories together, the picture becomes painfully clear. Europe is no longer a serious geopolitical actor. The Trump doctrine acknowledges only 3 great powers right now: the United States, China, and Russia. And Europe isn't even on the list. Even worse, Trump says it'll be gone in 20 years. The EU is collapsing because the people running it are globalist ideologues who don't believe in borders, they don't believe in culture, they don't believe in national identity, and they don't believe in freedom. Their only governing philosophy is control, like control of speech, control of your movement, your carbon footprint, control of energy, control of all the information, and control of any kind of dissent at all. Europe isn't being destroyed by external enemies. It's being destroyed from within. The enemy is in the house. And for the first time, the world is finally willing to say it out loud. Europe is collapsing in real time. So that's the news update part of today's video. Now I want to tell you about today's sponsor, which is tied to everything I just talked about, because we are in a back up the biggest truck moment right now as the new global world order is being completely reconfigured. Europe is collapsing. The 3 major players, the United States, Russia, and China, taking center stage. This is the highest tier financial opportunity in over 100 years, as far as I'm concerned. So let me tell you why. The level of commitment right now by the People's Republic of China is dedicating to humanoid robotics is nothing short of an all-out, centrally planned national strategic imperative from everything I've been able to gather and assess on this subject. In parallel, the United States right now is pursuing a more decentralized approach through private capital, right? We're a capitalist country, venture funding large technology companies. From all I've seen, plus through industry estimates that suggest the global humanoid robot market right now could grow significantly over the coming decades, with some projections reaching into the trillions of dollars if adoption scales across manufacturing, logistics, services. So the stage is set for growth. Where this gets really interesting in my view is that at present, humanoid robots remain in early deployment with only a relatively small install base worldwide and considerable uncertainty around the pace and shape of adoption. People are still trying to wrap their heads around all of this. So this is the real, very definition of early, as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to show you what I mean here in a second. So China has set non-negotiable short-term deadlines in that country, and the volume of activity in China right now is staggering. And I looked for a way to invest in humanoids early on. Right now, there's only an estimated few thousand humanoids in use globally. That's it. So this is an industry that's in its very infancy, its inception, and investing in it is extremely difficult. Trust me, I've tried. But Humanoid Global Holdings, which is the sponsor of today's video, and here's their ticker on your screen, is one of only a handful of publicly traded companies focused on building a diversified portfolio of minority stakes in humanoid and robotics-related startups right now. So shares of Humanoid Global are available through Interactive Brokers, any of the big brokers like Schwab, Fidelity, E-Trade, and all of those. And Humanoid's global model right now aims to provide indirect exposure to a set of private companies developing hardware, software, and supporting infrastructure for the humanoid robotics revolution. And what I found is one of the only humanoid pure play companies, and their business model is to basically take minority stakes in humanoid startups, some with over $1 billion valuations. Research Humanoid Global Holdings. I'll tell you, I have a link in the description so you can do more homework on this. But the do or die race for humanoid supremacy between the United States and China is, in my view, the biggest financial opportunity in the world right now because it's so darn early. The prize is a seismic shift in economic productivity. Humanoid Global Holdings is one of the only pure play publicly traded companies in the industry right now. This is one of the biggest and greatest financial revolutions ever, I believe, like what we're about to see. Each of us gets very few chances in life to be at the inception moments of transformative industries, part of the birth of ground floor opportunities with global influence that's going to result in trillions of dollars of wealth created across industries we can't even imagine. So we're entering an incredible boom age, in my opinion. I told my kids a few months ago that they're going to be the first generation, in my opinion, where robots are kind of everywhere and like become part of their lives. My kids are pretty young, but I can imagine a time when they're, in their 30s and their 40s, and there's like humanoid robots in their house folding laundry while they're at work, doing just like household chores. Who knows? Humanoid robots powered by rapidly advancing artificial intelligence are not merely an incremental technological upgrade. They represent the single largest catalyst for global productivity since the Industrial Revolution. So Humanoid Global Holdings, the company I've been telling you about, is already actively invested in 5 private companies and is seeking to participate in this theme by investing in a range of early stage companies building humanoid robots, automation platforms, and supportive software around all of it. So humanoid robots shatter the limitation that current basic robots contend with because they are built to operate with a human-centric world. Humanoid Global Holdings has already invested in, number one, howtorobot.com, which seeks to connect buyers and merchants and build a global marketplace for this new industry. Like if you're a business and you want to figure out how to put robots in your business, you go to that website. Number two, Formic, that is building automation of the next level agility robots, which Humanoid Global Holdings is invested in alongside DCVC, Playground Global, Amazon Industrial Innovation Fund, SoftBank, Schaeffler Group, and has a relationship with NVIDIA. And Humanoid Global has also invested in Apptronic, which has seen investment and funding from Google via their strategic investment partnership, Mercedes-Benz, ARK Invest, Kathy Wood, and B Capital, co-founded by Facebook and founder Eduardo Saverin. Again, these startups are private, so there's no other way to gain exposure to them for retail investors unless it's through Humanoid Global Holdings. You can't invest in those companies. So guys, do your own due diligence on this. I'll have links to their website below so you can dive much deeper into everything I just talked about today so you can educate yourself on this. And we'll see you next time, everyone.